You think you're moving forward, setting goals, staying busy, making plans. But here's what's really happening. You're running sideways. You're avoiding the one version of yourself that already knows what you need to do. Most people call this being strategic, playing it safe, waiting for the right time. But let's be honest, you're sabotaging the future you claim you want. And the version of you you're avoiding? It's not some distant, perfect fantasy living 10 years from now. It's closer than you think. It's the person you could be tomorrow if you stopped protecting who you are today. Every day you delay, the gap widens. The cost compounds. This isn't about motivation. It's about recognition. So who is this version of you? And why are you so terrified of meeting them? Before you think this is about willpower or discipline, let me be clear. It's not. Avoidance is universal. It's psychological, not personal. We all do it. Comfort zones, fear of failure, imposter syndrome, identity protection. These aren't character flaws. They're survival mechanisms that outlived their usefulness. I've watched hundreds of people delay their potential, and it's never because they can't. It's because they won't. This isn't about lazy people, it's about smart people who've convinced themselves that someday is safer than today. That preparing is better than starting. That thinking about change counts as changing. Here's the shift. You're not stuck. You're choosing. You're choosing familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. And there's a specific profile to the version of you you're avoiding. Once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start with the first two traits. Trait 1, the version of you that takes responsibility without excuses. Most people think they're accountable, but here's the difference. They're not taking responsibility. They're explaining why things didn't work out. This version doesn't justify. They adjust and move forward. Trait 2, the version that speaks up and sets boundaries. People avoid this one because it risks conflict, rejection, being misunderstood. So they stay silent and resentful instead. Think about the freelancer who undercharges because asking for fair pay feels awkward. Or the professional who nods in meetings while disagreeing internally. You think staying quiet protects relationships, but it actually erodes them, starting with the one you have with yourself. Here's what most people miss. These aren't personality changes, they're permission shifts. You don't need to become someone else. You need to stop apologizing for who you already are. But those two traits, they're just the surface, the deeper ones. Those are what really scare people. Now we go deeper. Trait 3, the version that prioritizes long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Most people avoid delayed gratification because it requires faith in a future self they don't fully trust yet. So they choose the dopamine hit of distraction over the discipline of progress. Trait 4, the version willing to be seen as different or too much. People shrink themselves to fit in. They fear judgment more than mediocrity. This version doesn't perform for approval. They operate from internal validation. You think blending in keeps you safe. It actually makes you invisible, including to yourself. Trait 5, the version that fails publicly and recovers quickly. Most avoid this because failure feels permanent when you're hiding. This version treats failure as data, not identity. Picture the entrepreneur who launches imperfectly versus the one still preparing 3 years later. Same idea, different courage. One is learning, the other is rehearsing. Every day you avoid this version, you're compounding interest on regret. The gap doesn't stay the same. It grows. So if this version is so valuable, why do we run from it? Here's why. 3 reasons. First, identity threat. Changing feels like losing who you are. Second, fear of success. What if you achieve it and still feel empty? Third, loss of excuses. Once you try, you can't blame circumstances anymore. It's not irrational to avoid this version. It's protective. But protection that never expires becomes a prison. So how do you bridge the gap? 3 shifts. Shift 1. Micro commitments over identity overhauls. Don't try to become the new version overnight. Act like them in one small decision today. Send the email. Set the boundary. Skip the distraction. Behavior shapes identity, not the reverse. Shift 2. Reframe failure as proximity. The closer you get to the avoided version, the more you'll stumble. That's not evidence you're on the wrong path. It's evidence you're on the right one. Mistakes mean movement. Shift 3. Expose the gap publicly. Tell one person what you're working toward. Accountability removes the luxury of silent avoidance. You think staying private keeps the pressure off, it actually keeps the exit door open. Here's the truth. You don't need to close the gap tomorrow. You just need to stop widening it today. This isn't about self-criticism, it's about self-alignment. You're not broken, you're just protecting a version of yourself that's keeping you small. So here's the final piece. The version of you you're avoiding? They're not someone you need to become. They're someone you already are beneath the layers of fear and conditioning. They're not waiting in the future. They're whispering right now and you keep turning the volume down. So here's your challenge. Identify one decision today where you can act like that version. Just one. Not tomorrow. Today. Subscribe if you want more psychology that makes you uncomfortable in the right ways. And comment below. What's one trait of your avoided self? I want to know. Let's talk about it.